It's NEC Football Media Week, and today we're meeting with the Mercyhurst Lakers, and we're joined by their brand new first-year head coach, Tom Sadesky. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Now, Coach Sadesky, just to give the fans some background, was the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach for Mercyhurst last year as they were in their first full year with an NEC schedule. In their non-conference, they were visiting nationally ranked teams every week, it seemed like, and then in conference play, they went 4-3, but went into the finale with a chance to clinch a share of the conference championship with a win, and they came very close. They had 4 plays from the central 12-yard line to try and put it in at the end, just came up short. So, Coach, a lot of success last year, first full year playing a league schedule. So how do you kind of assess how last year went, and how do you build on that this year as the head coach in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, obviously fell short of our goal, which was obviously winning a share of the conference title. But being as close as we were going into the last game and being, like you said, 4 plays away, I think it just made our guys a lot hungrier going into the offseason for those guys that are returners from last year. So going into the upcoming season, I think we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. We know that we're not going to surprise anybody anymore. So we know that it's going to be a little bit of a target on our back, and that's something that we're looking forward to. And like I said, we got a lot of guys that are hungry, and being as close as we were just makes them even hungrier to go after this upcoming year.
For you personally, this past winter, spring, summer, any second guesses to any of those plays you called from the 12? Give you a mulligan? Anything you do differently there?
No question. I mean, I think you're always going to evaluate not just those individual plays, but throughout the course of the season, things that you can do better as you're trying to evolve in your play caller perspective as you move forward, etc. But yeah, I mean, no doubt that I'll be looking at those plays for a long time, the ones there at the 12-yard line. But at the same time, to the same degree, I think it makes myself, when the time does come that we do bring an NEC title here to Mercyhurst back home, I think it's just going to make it even bigger when it does occur.
Now, you talked a little bit about it in your first answer. You're taking over a team that's in a really good place. You're ascending, not descending. So, as a first-year head coach, one of the youngest coaches in the entire country, what's been kind of the difference for you this offseason, this preseason, maybe compared to other years in your career?
Yeah, I mean, for myself in particular, obviously it's a different seat. I've been the offensive coordinator here for the past 2 seasons where, I was very fortunate under Coach Remedio where he allowed me the opportunity to really be the head coach of the offense. So now I have the opportunity to be the head coach of the entire football team. Now with that, obviously comes different things from an academic perspective, from an administration perspective, aside from the game of football. Now the enjoyment for me is still my couple hours that I have on the football field, going out there, coaching plays, whatever it may be. But those portion of things are definitely a little bit different, but something that I knew what the job was when I stepped into it, and obviously excited about the opportunity and not looking back, that's for sure.
I always enjoy asking first-year brand new head coaches this question. Is there anything that you've kind of been waiting to do or implement? Like, if I ever become a head coach, I'm going to do this. Has there been like one thing that you could point on? Like, I've been waiting to implement this with the team once I got the chance.
I think it's just the branding of things as you build your philosophy over the years of who you want to be as an individual head coach when you have the opportunity to be the head coach. I have had the privilege to work under some tremendous head coaches in my past. So to learn from those guys and ultimately implement some similar deals, but also have my own identity and twist on some things. And we also have a great coaching staff. The guys that we have on the current staff, I want each of those guys to be the head coach of their individual unit, position group, whatever it may be on the team. So I think we have a good blend moving forward, but definitely putting my identity here at Mercyhurst is definitely something I'm looking forward to.
So let's get into the 2026 team and some of the players. We know that Adam Urena had a great career at Mercyhurst, set the league touchdown pass record 2 years ago, helped Mercyhurst to one of the top total in scoring offenses last year. But now the Lakers have to turn the page at the quarterback position, and that's the one that I'm sure fans are very interested in hearing about. So how are things looking at the quarterback position going into the new year?
Sure, we're definitely going to have a position battle at the quarterback position. We have Alex Gavaudin, who played for us a good amount this past year. Actually got his first start against a good Wagner
Yep.
defense. You came out with a victory in that game, so he did a tremendous job managing the game in that atmosphere. But then we brought in a transfer, Anthony Walter from University of Nevada. He's had a really good spring. We're excited about his progress that he's made. And then Tyler Tusai is a young guy as well that has been here for over a year and a half now, so he's had his opportunity to be in the system. Each of those guys has had a really good spring and ultimately a good summer as well. So we're really looking forward to going to fall camp that's going to look like as the competition continues to heat up.
Now, of big help, I'm sure, to whoever the quarterback is, will be the running backs and the wide receivers. Wide receiver might be the deepest position you guys have on offense, with Dylan Evans, Evan Van Dyke coming back, some exciting transfers as well to help even more. But then at running back, your top two from last year are gone. So Brian Trebell, nearly 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns last year, have to replace that. So what are you seeing so far right now from the wide receivers and the running backs?
Yeah, wide receivers, I think you hit the nail on the head. We got two guys that have played a lot of snaps for us in Dylan Evans and Evan Van Dyke, but we also have a lot of competition. I think something that's very unique about this individual teams, it's probably the deepest team that I've ever had a opportunity to be a part of on offense, defense, special teams, the whole 9 yards. So we have competition in every group, and all of our guys understand that regardless of what you did last year, we're going to put the best 11 guys on the football team on the field at individual top, whatever that looks like. And I am my best as a coordinator when I have the opportunity to get creative. And if that means we got to put 5 running backs or 5 receivers on the field, hey, we'll be creative and we'll do that. But then from a running back position group, obviously losing BT was a big loss for us. But we had a lot of guys who played a lot of snaps as well last year. Jameer Gamble played a good amount, as well as Johnny Askew. We're excited about the progress Ethan Knox has made as well. We also had the opportunity to bring in a transfer in Byron Cardwell from San Diego State that we're excited about. But I do think it's going to be a tailback by committee, and that's typically what we've done in the past. Those guys, we like to move them around. We'll put them in some wildcat situations. We'll put them out there on the perimeter, etc., to like get creative in different ways to get those guys the football in space.
You mentioned you were the head coach of the offense and now the head coach of the entire football team. I'm assuming that you're still going to be calling plays this year.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Keep that one close to my chest.
If you are, how do you expect to manage, that with the head coaching duties? Have you been talking to any coaching mentors about how to kind of maybe handle game day on the sidelines now that you're the head coach?
Sure. I think, in talking to a lot of my previous head coaches I've had the opportunity to work with who also call plays, I think the most important piece is the staff that you put around. And ultimately, we have a great staff. I'm excited about the guys that we brought in. We brought back Bryce Dempsey to be our defensive coordinator, and he was our linebackers coach last year. So to have somebody on the defense that has some continuity, both from a schematic perspective and also from a personnel perspective with the guys, I think was incredibly important. And also have guys that have been here for a number of years, like Mike Waring, who's our associate head coach, that, guys that I can lean on in a multitude of areas that we've been around each other a number of years, to where the like-mindedness when it comes into those situations, we all have an idea as to what we're going to do from an offense, defense, special teams perspective, that we're all on the same page.
It seems like, familiarity and keeping with kind of what you've been building was a big theme with you and the administration that hired you. Obviously, you were with the team, and you mentioned Bryce Dempsey was the linebacker coach, now the defensive coordinator. So a lot of guys still staying with the program. On the defensive side of things now, as we turn to that area of the football, what are some areas of strength that you see on the defensive side of the football here going into the summer?
I think the experience. I mean, when you look at the defensive side, we have a lot of guys that are coming back. We were very fortunate. We were in single digits in terms of guys that left the program to go into the transfer portal. We only had 9 guys that decided to leave from last year going into this upcoming season, which, in today's day and age of college football, if you're in single digits, you're doing pretty good. So to have those guys on the defense, especially the linebacker core in particular, to have Jeff Lavelle and Jake Miller, who played a lot of snaps of football for us, coming back and really be the core of our defense, I think is going to be incredibly important as we continue to move forward.
I don't know if it's necessarily an area of concern, but is there anything that's still maybe a work in progress that still has to kind of get figured out here before games start in the fall?
Sure. I wouldn't say, again, not necessarily concerned, but definitely, there's going to be some schematic things from offense, defense, special teams that we're always going to continue to evolve in those areas. So this team's going to look different, whether I'm the play caller or somebody else is going into that first game. It's going to look different, when we line up that first snap than it was, 365 days ago. Because it's a completely new team from a personnel perspective. There's going to be some things, wrinkles that we throw at the defense, offense, whatever it may be.
Now let's get into the schedule a little bit, because things kick off on Thursday, August 27th. Once again, opening up against Youngstown State. It's the first NEC game of the season overall, 6 p.m. kickoff. Then you guys are going to be getting very familiar with the land of enchantment out in New Mexico, at New Mexico State, and then at New Mexico back-to-back weeks. Home opener September 19th against Glenville State. The NEC opener is on October 3rd at LIU. The rematch with Central Connecticut is at home on the 17th of October, and then things wrap up in November right right before Thanksgiving against New Haven. So first year as the head coach, you got the schedule. What are your thoughts on kind of how the schedule looks, how it shapes up, what might be some of the challenges going forward?
Well, I think anytime that you play three FBS games in a season, that's going to be a tremendous challenge in itself, both with the travel, who you're playing against, when you're playing up a level, etc., is going to be a big old deal. But we look at challenges as not just that in and of itself, but also great opportunities for our guys to showcase themselves on a bigger stage. So those are things that we're looking forward to. And at the end of the day, again, something I've learned from some of my predecessors is, I do believe that the common denominator amongst high achieving people is that they're going to have high expectations. So when we go into play, no matter who we play, the expectation remains the same. And, we understand whether it's non-conference, FBS, in-conference, etc., that the focus is going to be on us, the guys that we have within our program walls, for us to be successful on any given Saturday.
We mentioned way back at the beginning with last year's non-conference schedule, playing all those top 5 teams in all those weeks in a row. How did tests like that help, I guess, last year's team and the run that they went on? What do some of those tough tests in non-conference play do? How do they help you once the time comes for conference play?
I mean, I think anytime that you face any sort of adversity, whether that's in a non-conference game against a Montana State who ultimately won the national championship last year, I think when you're in those moments of adversity and then you can sit back on Sunday when you're evaluating the film, both from a staff perspective and from a team perspective, and you can say, hey guys, we're close in some degrees, but we're also far away in some other ones. And this is where we have to get better. But that ultimately builds to the buy-in, I think, of your overall football team. They can see, okay, if we get better in these certain areas, we can compete with the best of the best. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, regardless of who we play. And, our number one mission here at Mercyhurst, from a football perspective, is to reach our highest potential both on and off the field. And that doesn't change regardless of who we play at the end of the day.
For the logistical sake, are you guys going to be staying out of New Mexico, or are you flying back and flying back? Like, how have you thought about, I'm sure you have, but planned out how those 2 weeks are going to go?
Sure. I would love the opportunity to go out and stay out there. Obviously, with classes, that's something that we can't really do. So it is going to be a trip in which we take 2 back-to-back flight games out to New Mexico.
Thought about how to manage like practice that week with all the travel and obviously classes, as you mentioned?
Sure. I mean, it's going to be like a typical week for us, whether you're getting on a flight or you're driving to an opponent, it doesn't really change necessarily per se our schedule in terms of how we operate. The Sunday might look a little bit different when you're getting back at the wee hours of the morning, but, other than that, our typical day-to-day schedule is not going to be too overly different from a weekend work, week out perspective.
Say, but as a head coach now, that's things that you have to think about, right?
No question. A lot more planning as you're going through it.
Now, we know, you mentioned earlier, Coach Remedio, your predecessor. He's now the defensive coordinator with Youngstown State, so you'll get a nice little reunion there in the first game of the season. So in practice last year, how did your offense fare against his defense?
Oh, no, Coach Remedio does a tremendous job. A lot of times we were seeing bigger headaches on a day-to-day practice day than we were actually going to see on Saturdays. But no, we're looking forward to it. Any games on our schedule, but same ordeal. We're always going to look introspectively in terms of, hey, it's about us. It's not about an opponent or about any individual. We're going to be on our P's and Q's individually as we move forward.
Oh, Coach, it's a pleasure to chat with you. The fans getting to know you, and we look forward to getting to know the football team this year. Obviously, a lot of excitement up there in Erie for the upcoming Mercyhurst season. So thank you so much for chatting with us, and best of luck this year.
No question. Thank you for having me.
The Mercyhurst Lakers and again the NEC in general open up the new football season at Youngstown State on Thursday, August the 27th. That's a 6 p.m. kick. I'm Craig D'Amico, and this is NEC Football Media Week.